Yeah.
why did you decide to do pastiche plays, essentially, where there's many different characters instead of having the each individual play be about its own character? Is it just so that they could build on each other, as we were
Well,
discussing
I wanted
earlier?
to do the whole Arthurian canon. You know, the first play is Merlin and Arthur at the beginning of Camelot. The second play is Sir Gawain after the Green Knight, which is the most famous of the Arthurian tales still. And they recently released, I think, a movie made in Britain with, I think it's an Indian guy playing Sir Gawain. Uh, and
Good
then
casting.
Yeah, and then I wanted to have Guinevere and Dagny and the goings on at the court, and then basically you have to do the Grail quest because that's that. I mean, this is Christian mythos, so you have to do that one, and then you have to do the fall of Camelot with Modred. And in this play, I think this is where we first we might get the first inklings of, well, maybe it's an early play of Modred, and Modred is a budding little psychotic, and it comes to full flower in the next play, the last
It
play.
sort of has that. It has an ending, I think, where there's the pounding of the drums at the end of it, as if there's going to be some kind of war march going on. Or am I reimagining it? I believe that there's sort of like a cliffhanger type of thing where Mordred is talking about how he's going to get King Arthur or something.
Yeah. So a dark stage, something music is heard as if a bongo or war drum. After a good 30 seconds, there is projected somewhere on stage the words about 460 AD. The words fade as the thumping continues. Yeah, and so I wanted to have that. So that gives. I mean, when you hear boom, 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 it suggests the heart. It also suggests the famous March of Godzilla in the initial Japanese Godzilla.
Only you would make that connection.
Yeah, but if you're into pop culture, well, most of these plays and virtually all of my work has references to pop culture, but it's put in a high art context, which I do better than anyone I know of. But King Arthur. If you think about it, King Arthur's myth. While now people will look at it and say, with 500-600 years since the height of that, when Sir Thomas Malory was writing La Morte d'Arthur, which is the most famous of the Arthurian works, people will look and say, oh, that's what literature was. Back then, this stuff was, like a lot of Shakespeare's shitty comedies. That was, Shakespeare's shitty comedies were sort of like the Three Stooges movies of the day, and the Arthurian stuff was like the soap operas of the day. That people could that, because the Greeks the Greek myths had been discarded in terms of religion, and a lot of the people in the Anglo world probably barely knew of them any longer, but they knew of King Arthur, they knew of Guinevere, they knew of Sir Gawain, they knew of Lancelot and Tristram and Tristan and Isolde, and and then with then later on in the 19th century, when Wagner and some others and did the Ring cycle, the Nibelungen, I can't even pronounce it, operas about it, and then Tennyson did Idols of the King. These stuff became popular again after a couple of centuries of having faded in the background. And like I said, I wanted to just rework it. I've always been interested in King Arthur. I did write I was contracted, I think I mentioned in some of the earlier ones we did a few months ago, I was contracted in the late 80s to do a King Arthur poem by a press called the Edwin Mellon Press in upstate New York. They then changed their model and became a pay press, a vanity press, and so they dropped that project. But I still did the poem, and at the time, it was the best poem I'd ever written. It's a good, solid poem. I've got it somewhere in one of my safes. And the only thing that really survives from that play that I even remember about that book, that long poem, is I reused the red horse, the evil horse, Malagul's, which means big red, big or bad red. Mala meaning bad, and ghouls is an old English word for, or maybe it's an old French word for red, so big red. So this sort of demonic horse who appears only in one of the plays that we earlier discussed, but